It's summer of 2022, and SCOTUS just defended America's right to bear arms in a groundbreaking decision. Sure, some old people in black robes telling the state that we have the right to keep a gun and to carry it on our person is a big deal, but in a future of nightly riots, absent police, and the bank repossessing your house, there's no jobs, food costs have quadrupled, guns will be necessary but not sufficient to get you through safely. What I mean by that is, oh, for sure, you're going to need some guns, but you're going to need a lot more than guns to be secure and be resilient in what might come to pass. In plain English, this means that in a severe economic collapse, guns will be very relevant, but so will food production, medical supplies, equipment, transportation, and logistics. I'm assuming that most of us watching this video own several firearms already. We generally have our 2A bases covered. If you don't have at least one full-size service pistol, one carbine like an AK-47, AR-15, and maybe a concealed carry pistol, perhaps a shotgun, then yes, absolutely focus on those things. Get your self-defense firearms squared away. Maybe some body armor in there as well, night vision if you want to be real frosty and you got the money. No matter how many guns we have, we'd always like to have at least one or two more. But what if without rule of law looks more like a high crime Great Depression seasoned with bread riots? In this scenario, things like money, a car to drive, keeping a job, credit scores, debt, all those things are still going to matter in a high crime Great Depression with occasional bread riots, even nightly bread riots. When imagining a without rule of law, it's tempting to picture the world of Mad Max or maybe the Terminator after Skynet takes over. But what if things get tough, but we still have banks and the politicians still want their taxes and all that? So we could have some kind of a hybrid situation, which is probably more likely, where jobs are hard to get, times are tough, crime's up, etc. Here are some things that would be negative but would not erase our financial liability. Civil unrest, riots, food shortage and famine, high crime rates, high inflation, high unemployment, a defunded and or hostile police or government forces. All those things would not erase our financial liability. So with the above in mind, right now I'm focusing on food storage, food production, reducing consumer debt, lowering my reliance on the grid in general. For me, this looks like reclaiming wood from an old shed, building a chicken coop, restoring a used tractor, getting my MIG welder to run off a 240 volt generator that runs on fixed propane stored on my property, clearing brush on the property so that I can expand pasture, plant fruit trees, plant some other crops. It also looks like things that you wouldn't really expect, like getting a used plug-in hybrid vehicle like a Chevy Volt. I can drive that vehicle on electricity only for about 40 miles, but I could also run it off gas if I don't have power available. So there's some flexibility there, but also just some economy and some cost savings. Last but not least, I've got to do all of the above while also really focusing on reducing consumer debt. The demand for goods and services purchased with cash will collapse, and we'll all be left with mountains of debt, no job to pay off that debt, steeply rising food costs, fuel costs going up, housing costs going up. When I was a boy, I grew up stacking hay and working as a farmhand. My grandfather was a logger. I was out riding the log truck, and he showed me a barn that someone had built entirely out of used pallets. The man who built this barn had pulled all of the nails out of the pallets, pounded all those nails straight, and reused those nails. And to my young mind, I was in a world where nails were cheap enough and they came in huge crates that pounding nails straight so you could reuse them again and pulling all the nails out of 1,000 pallets, we're talking truckloads of pallets here, all that seemed ridiculous. But such was the world in the Great Depression and kind of after that, with the World War II going on. There just was not a lot of resources and money available for things like, hey, I'm just going to go build a whole barn. In the world to come, if supply chains, inflation, and the job market get as bad as it could, I'm not saying it will, but it could, we'd all be very lucky to have basics like junk pallets and used nails lying around. I'm really thinking about that, and that's why I'm saying that the next gun I buy isn't going to be a gun. It's going to be spare parts for my tractor. It's going to be getting some more apple trees in the ground, some cherry trees, maybe some pears. It's going to look like getting my fences fixed so I can have a little bit better security for my chickens. All those types of things are on my list before I get more guns. I've got my bases covered. Guns are a lot more fun for me, but some of these boring things probably give my family a lot better security when and if things get spicy. All right, thanks for listening.